Hey guys, it's our third update. It's day 30. We did a day 10, a day 20. We're day 30-ish now. I think it's day 31 actually. The beds are pumping. We are truly in the midst of what we set out to accomplish, which is backyard abundance. There's a couple setbacks like there always are in real life, but there's a whole lot of victories to celebrate. So today we're just going to go through a few of the overviews and updates on where things are at. We're going to do a harvest. Got my bowl along, going to fill it up with greens and all sorts of good stuff. And we're going to do a few maintenance things that we can do to just improve the quality and the performance of the garden so we just keep on seeing it pump. You'll notice here, no weeds. There'll be a few places there are some. I'll show you what to do. We've got incredible things to look forward to with the tomatoes and a lot of greens to harvest. So let's just work our way through it and see where we're at. The first thing we're going to do, guys, is just celebrate some harvesting. So look at this cucumber plant. There's a couple little babies in here, but what I want you to see is this fella ready to harvest. I'm just going to snip them off. If you're careful, you can twist them off. Just take a look at that cucumber. That's beautiful, hey? Look at it. It's 30 centimeters long. There's lots more little ones coming and lots of flowers, and it's just getting its water off the drip irrigation. So that's a huge start to our harvest and victory. Organic cuke. Let's keep looking for more to harvest. You may recall that we planted some radishes here that didn't take because it was old seed, but there was one radish that survived, or germinated rather, a seed. So there's one little beauty. So he's ready to go, and he can go into a salad or some greens. And remember, we reseeded some lettuce, and the lettuce is coming up beautifully here. So more little victories. So here I am with my harvest bowl. And what I've got here for the greens is tatsoi, right? So tatsoi, and here closer to the camera is chard. When you start mixing that all up together, in both cases, as you harvest it, it'll grow more. So you bring on more abundance as you harvest the abundance. Does it get any better than that? This is a purple kale. It's got purple kale, green chard, and a really dark green tatsoi that can all go in the harvest bowl. And the tatsoi and the chard are both equally yummy to eat raw or to eat cooked. You can go either way with it. The tatsoi, if you haven't had it before, is very similar to eating something like a bok choy. Think of it like an Asian-inspired green, and this tatsoi rather is just incredibly resilient and very productive. Just to give you a sense on the leaf size, almost as big as my palm, some of the bigger ones. And if we pick the large leaves and let the smaller ones mature more, that'll just keep on pushing more nutrition and energy, because remember, every little leaf is a solar panel. So I'm just picking more chard, bringing on the love. You can see how big these plants have grown here since we last checked in 10 days ago. They're really coming. And when you plant dense like this, but not too dense, what you're getting is maximized energy out of the soil, out of the plant, and there's no space for weeds to grow. So you can see already the bowl of greens is filling up quickly. Let's keep on harvesting in other places. So the chives have started to set up really nicely. You can tell it's rooting and growing. So now we're in a position where we can take some of the bigger stalks of chives and pull that out, use it as a green, maybe with scrambled eggs, fried rice, use it in a fresh salad. Look at that, we got green chives. Let's look further down the herbs row. Continuing along in the herb row, this is pretty incredible to see what's happening. All the oregano is coming along beautifully. So now there's oregano that can be picked doing a Greek salad, or oven roasted potatoes is the first thing I think of for oregano. That can go in the harvest bowl. The thyme has come along beautifully. I always love using thyme in dressings and salads. It's got such amazing flavor. Oh, I love it. So harvest the thyme. And then the rosemary that we had started from scratch as starts that we propagated in the spring has come along. All three of the plants are looking really beautiful. Check this out now. This is all brand new white growth that you can see on the stem for the rosemary. Looking beautiful. So we've got that for the harvest bowl. We've got parsley coming on. Parsley will reseed itself. So it'll just, if you let a stalk grow to flower and reseed, you'll have that. You can see the basils come along beautifully. Look at these nice big pieces of fresh basil leaf. And then the dill is growing great. This is the type of the part of the dill that you'd use for dill pickles. And then the more small fronds is something that you'd use in a salad or spicing up a veggie dish. So All the herbs are coming along great, and just such a powerful way to add flavor to your food. I think the part that I've been most looking forward to showing you guys is the zucchini, because it's such a beautiful plant and it's so full of blossoms. Look at that. Gorgeous yellow zucchini, and if you look inside here, there's just so many others that are getting ready. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more zucchinis that are coming along. So that can be popped into the harvest bowl. And hidden inside the zucchini, actually, it's really cool to see, is that you've got some purple kale that's coming on, and it's being shaded by the zucchini leaves, which it doesn't seem to mind at all. So we kind of have a double harvest in here because one is kind of symbiotically blessing the other. So we've got some gorgeous, gorgeous leaves of red kale there as well. Okay, let's keep on looking at more abundance. So another thing that we can do as we look through our garden and we're celebrating abundance is look at the beets. And part of the thing to do with beets, because they're going to grow a fairly large root vegetable, you have a few options. One is you can take the leaves, they're beautiful raw in salads or cooked in stir fries. You don't want to take all the little solar panels off, but you can take a few. And if they're bunched a little too tightly, one of the maintenance things to do would be to take out the little one. So here's a tiny little one that's not going to grow into much, and it frees up some space for the bigger one that's next to it to grow. So you got to thin out some space because you're thinking you want your beets to size up to be at least baseball size. So there's got to be room between each stalk. So that's called thinning them. You're just thinning out and you're trying to take the smallest ones whose greens you can eat. See, there's a tiny little baby beet coming off there. And the bigger ones that are already forming, they're going to be able to just grow that much bigger, that much faster without any competition. So lots of good opportunities there. You thin the beets and you get greens. Hiding in behind here, we have lots of lettuce that's come on really nice. So the lettuce you can snip away at, take your biggest leaves as well, and out of that it's going to grow more leaves. The small ones will size up. So it's pretty awesome. Lettuce is okay with less than completely full sun, and so even the lettuce plants that are growing in between the tomatoes are doing fine. And we're going to work a little bit on the tomatoes now and a little bit of improvement. So here we go on that. So we're going to shift gears a little bit now. We've moved from the harvest part, kind of overviewing all the abundance that we've got, and just as a refresh, we've got this big bowl now that's full of zucchini, cucumber, herbs, and a huge variety of greens. So there's piles of flavor there. And we're only at day 30, and we've got some gigantic produce that we're celebrating and all sorts of good things for salads and cooking and fresh. Oh my goodness. And my goodness, we're only at day 30. So imagine how much more we have to celebrate. But we're going to move along into showing some love to the tomatoes, which as you can see are already 60, 70 centimeters tall. They're in their cages, and one of the key things that I've been doing is moving the top branches to the topmost wire that they can reach over so that when they grow fruit, they'll be supported with the weight. So one of the main things to consider for tomatoes and their health is that if they're going to have disease or a problem, it's going to start from the ground up. So anytime you can remove bottom branches that are below any of the first flowers, you're going to improve the health of the plant and its chances of not getting disease, especially if you're in the outdoors and not in a greenhouse. I normally grow my tomatoes in a greenhouse, but if you get by with a fairly dry season, you can make it disease-free outside, and we'll see how we do. So I'm cutting off smaller branches that are down low to the ground. You never want to overhead water a tomato, because when a splash of moisture comes up from the soil, which is where some disease can be resident, you can end up with that disease coming onto your tomatoes. So what I'm trying to do is make sure that no foliage, no leaves are touching the soil. So we're taking off our lowest ones first, and most would advise, and I agree, it's safest to trim branches that are below the first flowers. Usually the flowers, which will turn to fruit, are not going to be really low down on the plant. Our flowers in this case are up right about here, if you can see them. So they're 30 centimeters or more above the ground. So below that level, I'm pretty okay with removing leaves to prevent splatter of any disease that would come up to the plant. So by doing that, I am also then creating a little bit more sunlight for the beets that are down below, because they're struggling to get enough sunlight. But now with taking off these lower branches, that's going to help. That's going to provide more energy then to go to fruit coming off of the flowers. So I'm just going to go along. I'm not going to make you follow along and get bored watching every single plant that I do. I'm just creating a bit of disease prevention and also some light to flow in for the lettuce that's here, for the beets, Another thing to point out is that air circulation is cool with any fruiting plant, and so tomatoes being kind of fruity, you have to have air circulation through so the fruit doesn't rot as it sets up and starts to mature. So I'm just going to go down the row and do that with the rest of the tomatoes now. That's what you'd want to do as well at this point.